I'm Elle Embers, and this is Cosmic Curiosities. Hello and welcome back to Cosmic Curiosities. My name is Elle, and if you would like to build on your connection between your soul and you, and are interested in how cosmic channeling, past life regression, or energetic coaching can assist you on your journey, you can send me a message on Instagram or visit my website, lembers.com. Today we are picking back up right where we left off last week. And I have to say, I am very thankful to Harry for this episode, because not only do his stories bring a huge sense of childlike magic to the world, but this episode was actually recorded back in mid to late 2022. And this conversation was a big part of me beginning to feel more comfortable talking about my abilities. And on a more personal level, announcing my trance channeling abilities and introducing Sari to the world. So I am truly and forever grateful. With that being said, I do have a few events and workshops in the upcoming weeks. If you'd like to know more about them, you can check my website. But Cosmic Curiosities will be taking a 2-week break, and we'll be back with a new episode on June 11th. But for now, let's get into the magic.
So that was really interesting. And there were other aspects to it that is just too much to go into, but they were really interesting. No, I will go into an aspect because it fits. I didn't realize this till later. Before she became the woman who disguised herself as a man and went to California, she had lived with a Native American family. I don't know if she was kidnapped or abducted or what, but as a young Chinese woman, she lived with Native Americans. And her grandmother in that childhood taught her to read nature, to read nature's messages just by looking at the ground and looking at the leaves and the twigs. Her grandmother had a way of saying, this is a language. So she found that very interesting as a child. Then she had the whole adventure I just told you about in California. And then many years later, she was an old woman and she was outside in the snow wondering what she was doing there. And she saw twigs on the ground on top of the snow. And she said, oh my God, I haven't thought of this in years. This reminds me of when I was a child. And my grandmother taught me how to read the twigs. Oh, I see why I'm here. I'm coming full circle of my life. That was the beginning. And now this is the end. And she lay down in the snow near the twigs and very slowly but calmly and serenely rose out of her body. So Vicky tells me all this of this past life regression series of memories she had, and I'm blown away. We say our goodbyes, I hang up. Now, as I said, all this stuff was blown in on my desk, and I randomly picked up a twig and started twirling it between my thumb and my forefinger, and it was a 3-pronged twig with a little brown dried berry at the end of each of the 3 prongs. And I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just twirling it, something to do. But then it hits me like a bolt out of the blue. After I hung up the phone, I thought, wait a minute. The Old West and prospectors and dance hall girls. I think I had a dream like that. I had a dream like that months ago. And at that time, I typed out all my dreams in great detail. So I went, I'm going to look it up. I think I had a dream that's kind of like what Vicky just told me about. So I go in my file folder and I find a dream. Sure enough, I'm in the Old West. I'm in a bedroom over a saloon. I see a naked lady on the bed with the Gibson girl hairdo like the 1880s. I know she's a prostitute. It's like, oh my God, this is like a different angle of the same scenario. And then I looked at the top of the page where I'd written my dream, and there was this design there because, and I remembered, yes, it was like a big still picture, so vivid that I woke up seeing it. It came before the Old West dream, but it was so vivid, I drew the lines of the design. And they were 3 straight lines with little round circles at the end of each one, kind of like a 3-pronged twig. And I went, oh my God. And I picked up the twig that I've been twirling, and I looked at the design I made on my dream paper, and I placed the twig over the design. It fit perfectly. It was an exact match.
Wow.
I know.
And was that the same twig design that Vicky saw as well?
Oh, I don't know. She didn't
That
say.
would be super interesting.
Oh. From my memory, it was just kind of twigs scattered on the ground. I don't know if the twigs she saw in that past life memory were arranged in a particular design or formation, but I have to ask her now. But those, back in the 1800s, what'd they look like?
She'll probably be like, oh God, Harry, I don't remember.
Really? Come on, man.
Oh, well, you know what? I actually had a past life regression with a client earlier this week. And she was telling me about these reoccurring dreams that she was having where she had snakes that were wrapped around her arm and her hand. And she was able to control sort of where the snakes would go telepathically.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And she was telling me about this dream, and, we had our regression. And during her regression, she kind of asked her higher self and her spirit guides, why do I keep having this dream? And they kind of said to her that she had these abilities in past lives and she will have them again. She just needs to trust in herself, right? So anyway, she takes that information away and, I go on my merry way, go home and, have dinner, go to bed. Anyway, I had a dream that for some reason I was near, there was a section near my house that had flooded slightly and there was a bit of a river or a stream sort of happening. And I was needing to cross over the water to get to the other side of my house. So I went through the water, but there were snakes in the water.
Oh my God.
And so I was trying to control where I was going, where snakes were going. And I ended up not having great control. And the snakes bit the top of my foot.
Oh, man.
Right? And so then I got out of the water and I was trying to stop other people from going in there, going there's snakes in there. And then I'm thinking to myself, God, I hope this snake wasn't poisonous. I'm going to die.
God.
But then when I woke up, the tops of my feet felt like I'd grazed them. They were tender from where I'd received the bite in the dream.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. And when I had a discussion with a multidimensional channel the next day, she told me that my conscious brain was not registering, yeah, that's a word.
Yes, it is, I believe.
That magic that had happened during that past life regression, right? So because I wasn't registering, because some crazy things happened in that regression that don't usually happen. And I was I just took it as, wow, this is amazing. This is great, wonderful. But they were telling me that my conscious brain wasn't registering the significance. So my subconscious brain was projecting it in my dreams. And to prove it, something I had created internally in my mind in a dream then correlated to being my 3D reality externally, the pain on my foot.
Wow.
And they're like, that is the magic. You've created that. And I was like, yep, cool. Okay, I need a minute.
Next dream, can we have a pleasurable physical sensation instead of pain on my foot, please?
Yeah.
That's extraordinarily amazing.
But I just thought the synchronicities of the snakes and her snakes, and then with yours, with the twigs, and then you dreaming about the saloon as well, and then I was like, this is what we talk about. This is the synchronicities, the little magic moments.
I mean, the whole thing about time, it's how did The dream weaver who gave me that design in a dream 2 months or so earlier, how could they possibly know that the wind was going to blow in a certain way 2 months later to put the exact proper kind of twig in my path so that I would notice it and pick it up and put my attention on it so that I could match it with the dream drawing? How did they know that?
Yeah.
Are they the wind who go this way, go that way, go through the window? Harry, look at the twig. That one. Pick it up, twirl it. How do I, it's just so amazing. Now, when you do
Yeah.
regressions, like with this woman with the snake dreams, do you go into an altered state and pick up impressions about her past lives? Or do you say, now relax and tell me what you're seeing and experiencing?
So the funny thing is, standard practice, right? They are communicating with me the entire time. So they're telling me what they're seeing.
They meaning who?
The client, the person going through the past
Oh,
life regression.
okay.
And they're communicating with me the entire time, and they're my eyes and ears, basically, and then I direct them from there. That's standard practice. But
I knew that was coming. How'd I know?
with my specific set of abilities, things have started to roll over in my practice. So I can often see things before the client will describe them.
Oh my God.
So this does actually make my job a little bit more difficult because, yes, it's handy that I can see what they're seeing.
Yeah.
But when it comes to asking them questions about things, I don't want to ask them any questions that come across as leading. So it's very much I have to keep that separate so that they're able to experience what they need to experience and I'm not directing a session.
I don't need to ask you. I already know the answer, but I'm not going to tell you that. Oh, that's so interesting. Wow.
Which points to another synchronicity with this same woman, actually.
Yeah.
Who she saw a table, right? And I saw the table and I saw apples on the table. So I asked her, is there anything on the table? She said apples.
Oh my
right?
God. Wow.
And then as I was talking to this multidimensional channel the following day and describing the dream about the snakes, they said to me, well, it's the same magic as, like, the apples on the table.
Stop it.
And I'm like, what?
Get out of here. How'd you know that? Where you been? Looking at my mind?
Right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just been one thing after another after another.
Wow, like the bulldogs. That's incredible.
Like the bulldogs, yeah.
Oh, God. Snakes and apples and tables.
Kind of makes you think of Garden of Eden a little bit there with with snakes and apples.
Right. Oh my God. I didn't even think of it. Guess where I live, by the way?
Where?
Eden Road. No, I'm not kidding.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah. One of the most fun things I'm finding in sharing these stories is that it's really resonating with the young people I work with. And I tell stories to a particular class of 2nd through 5th graders at a school. And I mentioned in passing Holy Mackerel Moments, and a few of the kids really picked up on it and went, Mr. Harry, any holy mackerels this week for you? Or, Mr. Harry, I had a holy mackerel last night. I go, what? So the few I remember right now are in the dream episode of Holy Mackerel Moments. I mentioned what happened to my friend Rudy. He dreamt of a still picture of the ground, but he was above the ground. That was his point of view. And this picture of the grass from above was so powerful, he woke up with it in his head. He said, what? It was a mundane image. It wasn't extraordinary, but it was so powerful, it woke me up. That day, he did a roof repair, fell off the roof. On his way down, he saw the ground just as he had in his dream, exactly the same. And because he was familiar with it already, his mind quickly went to the next thought, which was, I better turn my body so I don't land on my face. And he turned his body and landed. Well, he was hurt a little bit, but not as badly as if he hadn't had that dream or seen that image. Because if he hadn't had it, he would have been in such shock. He would have gone, ah, and he would have landed on his face. So I
Oh
told
my
this to the
God.
kids and thought, I wonder if they got that. Well, one kid came up to me afterwards, Mr. Harry, a few nights ago, I dreamt that I tripped and I fell down. And the very next day, I tripped, but I didn't fall down. I caught myself because my dream had prepared me.
Oh.
And then just the other day, one of the kids, two of the kids shared, Mr. Harry, my mother reads Around the World in 80 Days. It's a long book, but she reads chapters at a time with my little brother from time to time. And sometimes she'll say, do you want to do the book tonight? I go, no. Okay. And maybe a week will go by and they don't do it. And then they'll do it several nights in a row. And then he'll get tired of it and want to take a break. So this happened after a break of several nights or maybe even weeks. And his little brother said to the mother, oh, can we do Around the World in 80 Days tonight? She said, sure. So they sat together on the bed and she opened the book to where they had last left off. And this was a new chapter. And apparently the book is in the format of a series of journal entries. So the first page was the new entry, October 2nd. And then it went on to describe what happened that day in the book. Well, they decided to read this chapter of that book, starting with October 2nd, on October 2nd. They had no idea the book was going to say that. And it wasn't until later they went, wait a minute, what's today? Oh my God. 365 days. They happen to go to that book on the same day as the book is at.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
I know. And then another kid said, I had one. I was driving with my parents and the car radio was on and the lyrics were hard to understand, but I understood one word, which was safe. As the song's playing, we're driving by a sign on the side of the road. And because we're going fast, I couldn't read the whole sign, but I did read one word popped out at me of the sign we were passing, and the word was safe. I heard the word from the song and saw the word printed on the sign at the exact same time. That made me think of my friend Nancy, who was sleeping with her two kids in the room, 2-year-old daughter, 4-year-old son. She went to sleep, but then she woke up with a very vivid image of a large shark in her mind. At that moment, her little daughter screamed, Shark! And at that moment, her son said, Mom, Ariana's dreaming that a shark's going to eat her, all at the same time.
Oh my gosh.
The mother saw the picture, heard the daughter yell, and heard the son yell, all at the same time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So that reminded me of when I was leafing through back when they had DVDs. It was a catalog. There
Mm-hmm.
must have been thousands. It was like, I think the catalog was 300 pages long, and they're very small entries, little font, tons of DVDs. And I'm flipping through it. The TV is on, the news is playing. Tippi Hedren, the star of Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, devoted her life to helping big cats, lions and tigers and other animals who need homes. And she's an animal rights activist. And the news item was about her. And the announcer said, actress, animal activist Tippi Hedren is in Washington today to save the tiger. And then it went on. Well, as I'm flipping through the DVD catalog, I see an entry of a movie titled Save the Tiger. And I'm reading the words at the exact same time I hear the voice say it on the television, Save the Tiger.
That's so creepy.
Is it a little cool as well as creepy, or just creepy?
Oh, yes. It's very, very cool. It's very cool.
We can merge the words and call them Cleepy.
Creepy.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm being silly.
I was gonna say, well, I got like chills went up my spine then, and I was like, that's not even the coolest story that we've heard today. But it's like at that moment, I was like, ooh, chills.
Yeah. Me too. When it happened, I just could not believe it. So someone or some intelligence knew what was going to be said on the news show, guided me to take my thumb and flip the pages in a certain way so it would land on a certain page and my eye would go to a certain set of words at the exact same time. That's
Yeah.
what blows my mind about, how my perspective of life has changed through these events. You got to think of it differently when you think of this, what to us seems totally magical.
It also makes me think a bit about, it makes me question the power of our brain,
Uh-huh.
because it's like when you think about buying a blue car, right? And then you go out and you're like, wow, every car I see is blue.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. And, it's just like we have that filtering system in our brain that just goes, right, I'm going to start acknowledging and seeing all these blue cars because that's what I'm thinking about internally, right? So my internal
Right,
creates my external.
right.
But it makes me think about synchronicities and stuff as well because, I mean, obviously we only know about how to use 10% of our brain or something. Like there's a whole 90% there that we don't understand. And sometimes I think maybe there is such a strong power there that we're not aware of
Right.
that creates these synchronicities. Like your brain was
Mm.
that in the moment that it was like, I am reading this, but then I'm going to create this externally and hear it at the same time. And then we go, oh my God.
Oh, so like the part of our brain we're not aware of helps us design these events. Like we're
Yeah.
creators of them without knowing it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly. And it just makes me question, like, it makes me question whether, maybe that comes into play or maybe that's a thing. Because I think, we're all made of stardust and magic and everything, that maybe we do have this power that we aren't aware of. And it just kind of leaks out in different ways and different things. And they're
Yeah.
the moments that we're like, holy mackerel.
That might be so. That very well might be so. I had something I wanted to share when you talked about the top of your foot.
Yeah.
Energy is everything. And it's either, so vibrating so highly, like dog whistles, we can't hear it or see it, or dense like iron, but
Mm.
it's all energy. And the line between mental energy and physical existence, there's not much of a line, as that experience with your foot showed you. And this I found very amusing. There's a woman who does psychic mediumship on YouTube named Susan Lin, and she does political readings. And she doesn't throw tarot cards; she channels her spirit guides. So she'll say it's 60% what you're hearing now, 60% my guides, 40% me. And believe me, I don't always agree with my guides, but I'm just telling you what they're telling me. And one night she said, I have a new guide. I hadn't heard of him before, but apparently he was a big deal back in the day. He's a journalist and he wants to help me with the political readings. And his name is Edward R. Murrow. Now, I grew up hearing about this man. He was a little before my time, but he was alive when I was a kid and hugely famous and popular, known to be an excellent interviewer and journalist. So apparently he croaked and now is one of Susan Lynn's spirit guides. Here's the thing that blew my mind. In his earthly life, he was a chain smoker. So here he is energetically as Susan's guide, but he has not stopped smoking. And as he is helping Susan channel her information about earthly politics today, she is getting watery eyes and her nose is getting congested and her throat is getting itchy from all this damn secondhand smoke she's getting from Edward R. Murrow's spirit.
What? What? Oh my God.
That's what she said. And then in a subsequent edition of her show, she said, You're not going to believe this. I'm getting viewer comments saying, when I watch your show, when you're getting uncomfortable because of the spirit of Edward R. Murrow's secondhand smoke, I start to get congested and my eyes start to burn and water.
Oh my goodness.
Go figure. I don't understand any of it.
Oh my goodness. That is hilarious.
Oh.
That is crazy.
Can we get a lady spirit guide with organic patchouli oil or something?
Yeah.
Nicotine, please. Or flowers, just flowers. That's all I ask. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I'd be setting demands for that spirit, being like, nah, me,
Yeah.
no more smoking, thank you.
Or at least stand over there. You're like right over my shoulder whispering to me, puffing away.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show, like, there are some magical synchronicities in the world that, sometimes we don't really notice.
Yes.
Like with the kids, with the October 2nd and reading the
Right.
book, like they wouldn't realize that until later.
Yes.
And it's how many of these moments are we missing because we're so focused on everything else?
That is so true. I bet we miss scads every day. There's this wonderful musical Flower Drum Song, and one of the best known songs in it is called, well, I don't know the title, but the lyrics are 100 million miracles, bum, 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 bum. 100 million miracles are happening every day. Da, 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 da. Anyway, that would come into my mind growing up when these things would happen. I go, they are happening every day. And if there are that many of them, I must be missing a vast majority. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Honestly, I used to be, before stepping into more of the spiritual industry and actually working in the industry, like I remember little synchronicities happening as a kid
Yes.
that I didn't take any real notice of
Right.
until much later on in my life, because in the moment you're so just caught up in the day-to-day BS.
Yes, yes. Got to do this, got to do that. What, honey? Oh, that was a coincidence. Yes. Next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that you felt that as a kid. You felt that magic and you held on to it.
Yeah.
And then you've carried that through, and now you're helping other kids, especially with your storytelling and working in schools, to keep that magic alive. And
Oh.
I think that is beautiful. So,
Oh, thank you. I hope so, because it's I think part of the reason I put so much focus on is because it has been such a source of comfort to me. And if it can be of comfort to the kids going, they might have not a great home life or family life or alienated from school friends for whatever reason. There's so many reasons. All of us feel alone in some way. But for kids especially, who are so vulnerable, if they can get signs from the universe really showing them they are never alone, and it might not be the human people that are keeping them company, it might be other sources of life, but they're with you, baby. They're with you, and they love you, and they care for you, and they communicate with you.
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't want them to forget, because they say kids are psychic when they're little and then they lose the ability and so on and so forth. When I told a bunch of kids about the boy who saw True, and he saw fairies and elves and spirits and auras and dead relatives, the kids, second graders, I think I was telling this to, and they were really into it. And one sweet little boy came up to me on the playground afterwards, and he said, "Mr. Harry, it's true. Those beings and creatures and spirits, they exist. I know they do, and they're real. Magic is real if only we believe." I
Oh.
said, "You are so right." 2 or 3 years went by. I saw him again. He, was getting older. He was out of my story class, but I ran into him on the playground. I said, "Hey." He said, "Hi." I said, "How have you been? It's been a while." He said, "I know." I said, "Do you remember that day you came up to me and you said magic is real and all that great stuff is real if only we'd believe?" And he looked at me and said, "I'm 11 now."
Oh.
I know. I went, "Oh shit." Oh, sorry. I don't know if I can say that, but I was just so disappointed. I said, "Oh no, he's starting to forget and not believe." Hopefully
Oh.
he'll circle around back to it in later life. At least I
Yeah.
planted the seeds, or help to for later.
Yeah, and that's often the way that it is, like we do believe all this when we're little, and then we kind of go into this phase of like, nope, not believing it. I've grown up and I know better now, I know better.
When we do grow up, we're told a lot of things that later we find out there are reasons not to believe. Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny, we go, well, those were lies. So why shouldn't my synchronicities be lies too? Or my spirit friends or my imaginary friends in spirit, I guess that's fake too. So it's muddy and confusing, I would imagine sometimes.
You're exactly right.
But then maybe those things are real. Who's to say they're not? I mean,
Yeah.
not go down a chimney, but maybe he
But
does.
in another way, like
Yeah.
maybe just not the way that we expected. But you're exactly right. And I think that we kind of go through that transition period of like, we think everything we've been told is a lie. So we lose trust in ourselves and we lose trust in our beliefs. But then, as you get older, not everybody, but a lot of people, they tend to stumble back in to, wow, okay.
Yes.
I believe this happened, this has evidence, this, is, this makes me see this in a different way. And you open yourself up to more possibilities. So, I mean, maybe he will circle back around.
Oh, I hope so. Do you, I have two questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
One, do you remember any of those little synchronicities that happened as you were growing up that you didn't pay that much attention to at the time? And also, do you believe in spirit guides, that we each have one or some that are with us all the time?
I don't remember a lot of the synchronicities from when I was younger, but I remember a lot of things happening and then being like, oh, like for example, I do remember losing a piece of jewelry it was my mother's, and it was very important to me, and I was like, oh my god, I need to find this, and I'm gonna get in trouble. This was
Your
before
mother
she
was
passed,
alive and she had given it to you? Oh.
And well, I don't know if she'd given it to me. I probably just borrowed it and not told her.
I just stole it.
I very much I was very attached to my mother as even being little, and I wanted everything that she had, so
This is my way of showing you I love you, mommy. I'll take this and this over here. Thank you.
So a lot of the time I would just borrow her stuff, like just silly things like hairbrushes and nail polish and jewelry and things like that. Socks. Like weird.
It's mommy's.
Yeah, and I just, I liked to feel like I was, closer to her.
Yeah.
And I lost this piece of jewelry, and I was like, God, I need to find this. If I don't find this and I don't put it back, I'm going to be in so much trouble. And I I was in this panic, and I was looking everywhere for it, and I couldn't find it. And then all of a sudden, I stopped looking for it, just kind of admitting defeat and thinking, well, I'm going to be in trouble.
No.
And my mother's going into her jewelry box, and she's like, getting ready for, I don't know if she's getting ready for work or going out somewhere. Anyways, she put on this bracelet that I had been searching for, that I had lost, and she just had, like, it was never missing. Like, it was just in there. And I'm going, I lost that. Like, I don't know where, like, how is that in there? And she's like, what do you mean? It's always been in there. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, that was one little synchronicity. But, in the moment, you're just like, oh, okay, well, maybe someone else found it and put it back or whatever, like. But even if they did, it saved my butt.
And you remember having opened the box, taking it out, wearing it, misplacing it, losing it, panicking.
Yep.
Then you see her with the box, and there it is.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. But as for spirit guides, I absolutely do believe that we have spirit guides.
Uh-huh.
I don't necessarily think that there's one or two. Like, I feel like some people have a whole football team.
I need a lot of help this time, guys. Please.
And I don't think there's necessarily any rules as to, that spirit guides have to be connected to you from this life or anything like that. I just think that there is a whole element there that we just don't quite understand, and maybe we never will. But I definitely believe that we do have guides.
Mhm.
I guess the way that I sometimes think of it or picture it is like, you've got your little devil and your little angel on your shoulder in cartoons that are like
Uh-huh.
telling them what to do. I often see spirit guides in that way.
Oh, wow.
Not so much directing you into good and evil, but directing you on your path or on the most beneficial way for you. And sometimes I picture sometimes I picture the little devil character just being your human, being your conscious of conditioning and being like, well, maybe it's not such a bad idea if I do this. And your spirit guides are like, that's a terrible idea. You should not do that. But but that's how I made sense of it as a kid, because
Right.
there was a particular spirit that I did see quite frequently as a
Yeah.
child. And a lot of the time I would try to like communicate with her or talk to her, and it was almost like she'd roll her eyes at me. Like it was very much like, just shut up.
What are you, a kid? Don't you know this stuff? It's like,
right.
No, don't.
She had very, very little patience for me.
Oh, funny.
And I saw her a lot throughout my life, and for varying situations, various reasons. And it often occurred to me that perhaps she was part of that spirit guide team.
Uh-huh.
Because I have been told that, I do have a bit of a flock.
A flock.
Of a flock of spirit guides.
As big as the football team.
Probably not quite.
Okay.
But they said, there's quite a few that are in the mix, and sometimes they can have varying opinions. And I'm like, yeah, that tracks.
Wow.
But I believe that, they are there, but whatever their role or whatever their purpose is depends on the guide, depends on you, depends on...
Yeah.
Sometimes I think, it's like they've got a job to do. They signed up for a contract, and sometimes you don't always like the job that you do.
I have to go with L? Oh, man.
So, I do believe that they are there, but I believe that there's variations for different people for different reasons. And a lot of the time, I do call on spirit guides to communicate with me for a person for their reading. And sometimes, like, their spirit guides are happy to be there, happy to be heard, and they're like, this guy, tell him to listen. But, and sometimes they're like, no, they're doing a great job. But there's always an overwhelming sense of love. And I think that just is another way that we have created this connection with the spirit world for ourselves. Because I believe that, we have that power, we have that ability, we create externally what we feel internally. And to have that connection to universe and the world and spirit realm, I believe that we do still want that element of feeling connected. And so I do think that that's why we have created them, or rely on them in that sense, as a reminder that we are a lot more magical, and there is a lot more magic in the world that we don't quite understand.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I saw a fascinating interview with Anderson Cooper on YouTube last night, talking about his mother and his life. And near the end of the conversation, he said, isn't it extraordinary that sometimes the worst things that happen in our lives are the moments for which we are most grateful? And for me, it's been horrible things, and then I'm getting away from them, and it leads to a whole new wonderful thing. But I think his point was more that if we live in a bubble, like a psychic bubble where we're apart from the world for whatever reason, and then the most anguish producing tragedy happens, it cracks the bubble. And the gift of that is that it connects us with the rest of the world, because we suddenly get it and have empathy, and it kind of cracks our hearts open. And we go, oh, now I know what that poor person is feeling like. My experience wasn't identical, but it was close enough that I kind of get it firsthand now, what they must be feeling. Oh, And those events can help us strengthen our sense of connectedness, which is nice.
Yeah. I think that we definitely pick our challenges going in. You know, we want to have the most growth when we come and experience life. Like, we don't want to come into this life, this incarnation, and not learn anything. That's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, we do choose our experiences on the basis of growth. And I think some of us maybe overcommit. And
Oh,
some of
yeah.
us, you know, have a little bit more experiences to learn from. And some of us, you know, are a little bit more slow paced and taking our time. And that's okay. But it's definitely those growth experiences that really push us to connect with each other.
Yeah. I was very cocky coming in. I went, oh, challenge is fine. Lay them on me. I can handle it. Because I had such connection with my spirit friends. Like, oh, you're telling me I'm going to go into a baby body on Earth and forget about you guys? Ha ha. And then, of course, I did. I went, oh, shit, where am I? What's going on? They're going, told you.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I was very much the same. I was like, yeah, no, I can handle it. I'm tough. Give it to me. I'll get it all done in this life. And
Yeah.
then and then, you know, by the time I'm 30, I've lived 3 lifetimes.
I know. I know. Will it never end? It's so relentless. One lady wrote in a book, being a human on Earth is really hard. And why didn't anybody tell us? Why didn't you give us a heads up or a warning that once we got here, that our level of spiritual amnesia would be so damn severe, we would forget that we're all connected, forget that we're not alone, and feel so scared and lonely and sad all the time. And the answer Spirit gave was, nobody told you because nobody knew. You guys are the first ones doing it this way. You are the pioneers breaking ground in being humans with such deep spiritual amnesia, they don't know what end is up. You volunteered to kind of be the people going to the moon in a sense, being, it is a game. Like, let's see how much we can forget and still remember or still cope and get through and function. And maybe that's what a lot of us are doing. And now we're yelling uncle. It's like, all right, it's enough. Let me start to remember because I can't handle this isolation and this empathy and this pain anymore. So evolutionary wise, maybe we are starting to remember. They say shift happens. And when I was a kid, Hair was the big musical on Broadway. The hippies singing about this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Aquarius.
Yeah, and I said to friends, so when is it now? And they went, no, they're singing about it, but it doesn't really happen until years from now. I went, oh, shoot. But now I think, astrologically, it is really happening now.
Well,
No?
astrologically it's happening now.
Well, good. That's all I want.
In March 2023,
Yeah.
Pluto is going to move into Aquarius for the first time in generations.
Okay.
And
is that good?
Maybe it'll bring some shifts.
Oh, I hope so. You think we could use one or two in the world now?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, okay. I mean, if you don't like things just the way they are, that's your prerogative. I think they're just dreamy. They're dripping with sarcasm. No, we need a shift, God knows. And I think it's in the offing. I think it's happening. In some ways it's slow, and in other ways it's like a quantum leap when we suddenly get the light bulb and we go, oh my God, often with these experiences we have, it's like, wow. And it is so exciting. And it really triggers my childlike excitement, enthusiasm, and wonderment about life. And that's a happy thing.
Absolutely. And that's all that, we really want, right? Is we just want to be happy.
Yes. My friend says we came here to play. It's like, let's play with dense physical existence, like kids with mud pies, and see what we can create. And then we get so focused on the mud, our spirit guides are going, how is it on Earth with your little game? Oh, it's fine. We're learning a lot. And then we keep getting into it. And our spirit friends go, so how is it now? We go, what? Did someone just talk to me? And suddenly we forget all about them. And then we go, whoa, why am I lonely? They're screaming at us. It's like, too late.
So focused on the mud, we're like, wait, what am I doing here again? What was the point? I can't remember.
Somebody's calling to me, but their voice gets fainter and fainter. And look at that mud. Hey.
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, I'm glad that we are kind of shifting those perspectives. And, you know, especially with what you do and trying to still nurture this in kids and, you know, bringing a bit of life and happiness and joy into adults even.
Oh, yeah.
With the Holy Mackerel Moments and just, you know, looking at the lighter side of things and appreciating those little synchronicities and magic in life. So thanks, Harry.
Oh, Elle, thank you. Thank you.
So if people are wanting to find a little bit more out about Holy Mackerel Moments and a little bit more about you, where can they find you? Where can they go?
I think the easiest thing to do is to go to YouTube and type in the search bar Holy Mackerel Moments. And most, if not all, of those videos will come up. But if you tap on my face in the circle, that leads you to my channel. And that page has all my videos in one place. That's probably the easiest way. As far as the acting goes, if people want to know about my acting life, professional actor, stage, film, and TV, go to IMDb, Internet Movie Database. If you want to look me up, it's Harry, Harry, Hart, Hart, hyphen, Browne, capital Browne, Harry Hart-Browne.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for sharing with us today, Harry. I really appreciate it. And it's always good to have a chat with you.
Oh, great pleasure. I hope we could do it again sometime. I just laugh and I expand and I learn stuff from you. And I find you triggering me, my childlike excitement about life. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Well, this is your Earthside Spirit Guide signing off for the week. If you'd like to know more about how you can work with me, you can follow me on Instagram @l.embers or visit my website lembers.com.